So, a lot of people know the boys or the SB boys, the Suicide Boys is an underground rap group, but honestly, man, I'd say they're pretty mainstream, bro. Their most recent project sold 57,000 first week independently, and they're selling out stadiums, man. These guys are straight up the real deal. Not necessarily my cup of tea, but I've definitely had, different kind of stints of listening to them. Definitely some good gym music, you know what I mean? I watched a Theo Von interview, and that interview was heat, man. Straight up heat, you know what I mean? And just, just them breaking down their lives and their different perspectives, and them even listening to podcasts like Theo Von, man. I thought that was pretty dope. And, you just have to give them props, like they're one of the bigger independent artists. It's like Tech Nine, Suicide Boys, and Russ. Those are the big three of independent artists that are rappers. I guess you could maybe say Tom McDonald. I'm not too sure if he's signed or not, but I just kind of hate saying that guy's name in the same sentence as the Suicide Boys, Russ, and Tech Nine. So pretty much I'm just going to kind of talk about I don't know, just kind of their whole rise to becoming who they are, and I guess their upbringing, and a lot of different spicy details and even details of where they're at today. So pretty much their name is Suicide Boys, and it's styled with like an S with like a dollar sign in it. They're, a rap group, a duo, the two of them from New Orleans, Louisiana, and they formed in 2014. So that's almost 11 years ago. Can't believe how fast time is going by, but like, man, these guys are considered goats to a lot of different people. The group pretty much consists of Scrim and Ruby the Cherry, or however you want to call their names and stuff like that. They dropped some really dope solo projects recently as well. They're pretty much known for their raw, abrasive beats, dark lyrical themes, and their cold like following. And their following, man, is next level. Something I would like to kind of say about their following, kind of like some of the right-wing rappers, their fan base kind of consists of, people that kind of seem like they're gonna go crazy, slither, or go to school and kind of music, you know what I mean? That's kind of the stereotype, you know what I mean? But they still make good music and shit like that. Definitely blending kind of the horrorcore themes of like Bones and metal music kind of mashed together. I'd put them in the same subgenre as, I would maybe say Zilla Kami, but I would say Bones, Puya. I mean, Puya's not really that dark, but definitely Bones, Ghostmane, even some of the earlier XX Tentacion and Ski Mask. Kind of just that heavy horrorcore trap and punk influences, you know what I mean? So their culture impact, they're definitely SoundCloud pioneers, you know what I mean? You know how there's always like a Mount Rushmore of SoundCloud rappers? I think the Suicide Boys should definitely be there. They do have a very strong following on Spotify and Apple Music and all the streaming platforms, YouTube, but they're for sure pioneers of this whole SoundCloud wave in 2017, 2016. They're pretty spot on in the stereotype with face tattoos and everything, being addicted to Xanax, all that stuff. So let's just go to kind of the origins in the early days. So first cousins Scrim and Ruby the Cherry both struggled with depression and addiction. And I'm talking they were doing some really dark shit. I'm talking about like heroin, Xanax, perks. They were doing all the 9 yards. They're doing, the white powder, doing ketamine. They're doing everything. And they're both very depressed and really bad mental health. You know what I mean, man? And, and in addition, they just named themselves like the Suicide Boys. You know what I mean? They even made like this part right here always stuck with me. This was from a No Jumper interview. And this part's really kind of messed with my mind growing up because, growing up, I was trying to be a rapper too, you know what I mean? Like, kind of like everybody in the 2017 era, you know what I mean? But they made a pact. If they didn't make it in music by 30, they were going to, blow their brains out. Obviously, they're still here and they made it. You know what I mean? So let's kind of just talk about the SoundCloud breakthrough. They gained traction with the 2014 EP, Kill Yourself Part 1. The Suicide Saga on SoundCloud and Bandcamp, and they ended up collaborating with the rapper Bones because they're kind of in the same little aura field, same little pocket in that balloon. I'd say their early work kind of featured lo-fi production and themes of suicidal ideas in their music, still with the horrorcore and shit like that. It was very dark music. I listened to them a little bit. They're kind of coming up around the same time, at least when I really started listening to them was around 2016, 2017, around Little Peep, and I kind of went in the more like the Little Peep direction instead of the super hardcore Bones, Ghostman, and the heavy distorted 808s like that. I was kind of more in the Little Peep side of things, you know what I mean? Like Juice WRLD's like one of my favorites, you know, like I love the emo rap shit, you know what I mean? So their G59 or G59 Records founded their own label. And then, you know, they founded their own label in 2013, and the artists now consist of Nate Lavelle, who's from Ottawa, you know, from Canada and shit like that, and Shakewell. Shakewell is an underrated artist. Like, just this whole era, like, all these guys are, like, really dope. Like, you know how everybody was kind of saying, like, yeah, 2017 SoundCloud era, there was just mumble rap. Nah, man, like, these guys actually had bars. Like, Suicide Boys, Shakewell, Puya, all them guys had some crazy bars, just with some crazy triplet flows. You know what I mean? And another thing I wanted to mention, their G59 record label is underneath Sony, like, you know, like the Sony label, or Sony, I should say, not Sony. I don't know, for whatever reason I was thinking of like Sony, like Skrillex, but obviously that's the wrong one. So let's just talk about the musical style and just how they kind of like elevated it. Their music definitely blends, you know, horrorcore, trap, cloud rap, even shadow rap, a term they coined to kind of distance themselves from horrorcore. They're obviously heavily influenced by 3 6 Mafia, even Lil Wayne, and punk bands like the band Misfits. Some early tracks were dark, aggressive beats with lyrics about addiction, depression, and even where they're from, New Orleans. The production was always by Scrim, or at least he handled most of the production. It was known for some distorted, bass-heavy beats. The music often kind of like sampled, like kind of like some 3 6 Mafia samples, you know, like it had some, I don't know, I can't even explain it. Like, if you know the Suicide Boys, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I always had a sample at the beginning with a hard 808 drop. You know what I mean? I don't know, some like even like Freddy Krueger or Notorious B.I.G., shit like that. So let's just kind of talk about some of their key releases. So let's just start from 2016. This one ended up peaking at number 17, and it was called Radical Suicide. And that was their first mainstream entry. This is 2016. The next was in 2018, I Wanna Die in New Orleans, their debut studio album, and hit number 9 on Billboard 200, which is pretty damn good, bro. Let's talk about the 2019 release, Live Fast, Die Whenever, a collaborative EP with Travis Barker and Korn's James Sheffer. So these are like this is like a full metal collab. You know what I mean? Like Ruby dropped like a fucking, like Ruby's originally like a metal artist. He had his own band. He has his own band right now. His new album is pretty dope. You know what I mean? Scrim is kind of like the trap guy. You know what I mean? Like the trap guy. He used to have like dreads and shit like that. Like some of his most recent projects kind of sounds like some Yeet shit. Like Yeet's one of my favorite rappers too. I'm just kind of doing a little crossover now. You know what I mean? Another one that did really well is "Sing Me Lullaby," My Sweet Temptation. That was in 2022. It was a more gentler, reflective sound, kind of exploring being sober. You know what I mean? Let's talk about their 2024 release, New World Depression. The lead single was You Vs. Them, and it showcases their style just really evolving with some introspective details to it. You know what I mean? And I think that one was a pretty decent project. There's a lot of skips for me on that one, to be completely honest with you, but to see them, you know, elevate to where they are right now, it's pretty dope. From an outside perspective, like if you're kind of not really tapped into that sound and getting used to it, you made us think, like even their newer stuff now, even though there's a huge drastic difference, it made it sound like they've been making the same song for 11 years now. You could easily say that. Sometimes I even think that to my head. It's the same with like Lucky, it's the same with Gunna. Sometimes it just sounds like they're making the same song over and over again. But if you like really tap into what they're saying, and even sonically a little bit, it's really not the same song over and over again. It's gotta listen and really feel the vibe. Listen to music in different situations throughout your life, and then you're gonna be able to notice the difference, if that makes sense. Let's talk about their most recent album, The Kingdom Come, and it definitely reflecting maturity and emotional depth. And some people have been saying they've been pushing their new religion on them, you know? And let's just go to their solo projects. So let's just start off with Scrim. His first solo project was A Man Rose from the Dead. And then in 24, he dropped the project called Lonely Boy, with 44 tracks for the deluxe edition. Lonely Boy, I liked a lot. A Man Rose from the Dead, I thought it was cool, but I like the last one, the most recent one, better. And then Ruby released mixtapes, the Jeffrey tape in 2012, and Pluto in 2014. And he also dropped another project this year, but it's not even rap at all. I thought it was pretty good. Replay value for me on the low, but I still respect it. You know what I mean? Let's just go to some of their career milestones and their chart success. So, I Want to Die in New Orleans as their first top 10 Billboard 200 album. In 2023, they outperformed major artists like Beyonce and Lil Wayne in consumption metrics. So what that pretty much means is they literally have a cult-like fan base. Like when they listen to them, that's all they would listen to is the Suicide Boys. That's what I mean when I say like a lot of the Suicide Boys fans, they don't listen to rap. They only listen to them. You know what I mean? And in the culture, a lot of people look at the Suicide Boys as like outsiders. You know what I mean? They look at them like outsiders because it's very niche, very niche. You know what I mean? Like it gets you really stuck in that zone. I'd say Juice WRLD's kind of the same thing because Juice WRLD had just has so many that like 4,000 leaks. Where like I know some people the only rap music or rap music they listen to is Juice WRLD. It's the same with the people on the far right. All they listen to is Tom McDonald and Dax, you know? But they don't listen to hip hop. Another one I want to mention is Baby No Money, Young Gravy. They don't listen to rap music. They just listen to Baby No Money, Young Gravy. These are people that don't like rap, but they like these artists. Take it how you want. You know what I mean? It's no diss at all. Must go to their Grey Day tour. And this is like their annual festival like tour. And that's just like, it's always called Grey Day. Their fans would be pouring in like crazy. Like a broken dam. It's all the water just going boom. You know what I mean? But yeah, their annual festival like tour started in 2015. It was a cornerstone of their success, grossing 43 million and selling 434,000 tickets in 23 alone, which is insane, bro. For an independent rap group, these guys are selling more first week than a lot of the mainstream rappers. Like the same week this year in July, Yeet, Metro Boomin dropped an album the same time as the Suicide Boys. Guess who sold more? The Suicide Boys. They sold 57K first week. Yeet sold 34K first week, even though it's an EP. Metro Boomin sold 18K first week. It just kind of shows just like how strong their fan base is, bro. Another interesting thing I wanted to talk about, I kind of talked about a little bit earlier, is their sobriety journey. Both members achieved sobriety. Scrim since 2019 and Ruby since 20. And it really kind of shifted some of the undertones of their music in a positive way. Some fans don't necessarily like it. Some fans think it's just like, man, like, they're no longer suffering with me. I can no longer relate to them. It's just how you look at it. Especially the younger you are, the more you kind of grasp hold to your artist in a way and try to really live through the artist. You know what I mean? I've definitely been guilty of that when I was younger, you know, via Juice WRLD, via Lil Uzi Vert. You know what I mean? But I do want to mention they've had a lot of controversies with sampling, especially with 3 6 Mafia. So let's just kind of break that down. They faced backlash from Deadmau5 in 2016 for sampling I Remember in Antarctica without permission. The song was removed but later cleared for streaming in 2021. In 2020, they had a humongous lawsuit with 3 6 Mafia. Juicy J and DJ Paul sued them for allegedly sampling 35 songs illegally despite prior collabs. That was just a whole weird debacle. You know what I mean? The industry independence was a big one as well. Now they're, I guess you could say, technically independent. You know, like how Chance the Rapper was like independent for Coloring Book, independent, but still good though. They have a solid fan base. Like if they really decided to push the button and sign a humongous deal, these guys would be selling probably 200K first week at least. Like, come on now. So let's just kind of go to some of the fans' perspective in 25. They do have like a very cult-like following. They do have reminiscences of Bone Thugs and Harmony and 3 6 Mafia, just with how they kind of do that triplet flow and kind of harmonize and stuff like that. But some of the fans were a little bit upset of them pushing Christianity or pushing Christian religions onto them. And they weren't the biggest fans of that. They didn't really like that, but it's just part of them like evolving as people. So yeah, pretty much I'll just say these guys are 100% should be respected. They're not necessarily my cup of tea for music wise and stuff like that. I could have went way more in depth on some of their stories and stuff like that, but this is just my perspective on how I see them. They're not necessarily my type of music I listen to, but sometimes I get into a mood where I just be watching the music videos or just kind of like tapping into their world of things because they're great artists, great musicians, great rappers, good singers, good harmonizers, good ear for beats, great videos, good image, great performers, is at least what I've seen from YouTube. And my friends that have been to their concerts. So I gotta tip my hat off to the Suicide Boys, man. Like they have a strong fan base and a strong thing going for them. I definitely respect it, for sure.